So, this is the thru-hiker chat live stream. It's essentially just ask us any questions you have about long trails, thru-hiking, backpacking in general, but probably more of a focus on AT, PCT, CDT, any other trail you may want to hike. Let me know in the comments if the sound is good. This is a new setup, so I'm doing some lighting and the camera's a little bit farther away so I can get both of us in the frame. But, does anyone other are people? Yeah, so I have a list of questions here that I'll start with once we're good to go. As far as audio goes though, does that sound decent? Can you hear me? Can you hear me if I talk really soft? Can you hear me if I talk very loud? Alright, so this is the live chat. Sounds good? Alright, cool. Sound is good, framing looks good. Alright, so I'm going to start off with this list. This came from Patreon people, and it's just some questions about thru-hiking, about the trail. Oh, maybe we should do introductions. Maybe. So, I'm Joe. I feel like you probably know that. My trail name was Apache, which you might not know because I never really say that. I'm trying to kind of get away from it, but Apache, I've done the AT in 2012, the PCT in 2014, and the CDT in 2015. And that's where I met this guy on the CDT. And that's MeHap.
Yeah, my name is MeHap. I had the AT in 2011, PCT in 2013, and CDT in 2015, where I met this guy.
Yeah. And I guess that's good enough introductions. Let's get into it. So first question that I got from Patreon was, do you take breaks when hiking? Or do you just keep hiking through the day? How do you pace yourself like that? And I think we'll both have a really similar answer for a lot of things. But especially on this, I don't take any breaks when hiking on a long trail. I mean, I'll break for lunch, maybe take an hour, and that's kind of like my siesta for the day. But in all honesty, I hike throughout the day, and on the AT, I kind of learned that. My first long trail, I would just hike for a while and then sit at the top of a mountain and huff and puff, and then I would hike a little longer. But as you get more fit and as you get used to hiking all day, it doesn't really make sense to take breaks because you can just keep walking, and as you're walking, you get, like, if it's too tiring going up a mountain, you slow your pace, but you're still moving forward. I think you just kind of find this flow where you can reduce your speed to keep going, and then once you get more energy or once you're on a downhill, you can pick it back up.
Yeah, I think for me, on the AT, very similar. I just would hike until I got exhausted, and usually going up hills, you get exhausted, and like you said, you're huffing and puffing, and you take a break on maybe halfway up the hill, depending on the length. Or you just take a break in front of a vista, because vistas are few and far between, so you want to enjoy those. But once I got my trail legs, breaks throughout the day didn't really make sense. It was just, I would get into a routine of wanting to hike, just wanting to be on my feet. So by the time I got to the PCT, I would hike throughout the day and maybe stop for lunch and maybe a mid-morning break and a evening break. But then stop for lunch and obviously dinner before camp. But then there would be days when you just don't want to stop. You just keep on hiking.
Yeah. I feel like that's just a thing you kind of figure out as you hike, as you're on a trail. It's just, what's my pace? How fast can I go all day? And some people still take breaks, but I think in the large part, most people try to keep that pace moving throughout the day. That's kind of a large part of through hiking anyways.
Yeah. And that's all, there's no way I could do what I do now, or what I did kind of on the end, and on the CDT right off the bat when I started the AT. I didn't even have, my initial trail legs, let alone, like thousands of miles. So it takes time to build up to that, and kind of know your pace and know how you're going to, know how you're going to adjust your speed and your cadence and everything, going up hills and down hills and not getting exhausted as much.
So, we're drinking tea. It's a nice green tea, perfect for a Sunday afternoon.
Not when all the lights are on you and
it's really hot in here. Alright, so I'm going to work through, I have 3 more questions on here to answer, and then I'll open it up in the comments and I'll start answering all of those questions, whatever they may be. So, second question, we kind of covered that. If we could do 1 month of hiking on any of the long trails, what would it be? Assuming one that we've already done is what I'm assuming. Repeat 1 month on trail, 1 month section. That's tough. There's a lot of really good sections. So right now recently I've been craving like a hardwood forest, East Coast, really dense, wet forest with a lot of tree diversity, oaks and maples. Because out here, we're in Colorado, and you get pine trees and you get epic mountains, but it's kind of just that the whole time. And there's less of the density and the kind of mysteriousness that comes with the AT, I think. So I would do the stretch of the AT, the very northern stretch, somewhere in Maine, lower Maine. It's a really hard, rugged trail. You're walking over rock all day, and you just got out of the whites. You think, oh, it's Maine. I'm out of the whites. It'll be easy sailing, but it's really hard hiking. And
slippery.
Yeah, slippery, and it's just beautiful. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's ponds and water all around you, giant mountains that jut up. So I think right now at this moment, that's what I would do for a 30-day stretch.
For me, my head goes in two different directions. One is the Sierras, because that's somewhere I've wanted to get back to after the PCT. The Sierras are beautiful, and I would love to spend as much time as I can in there. But then, second direction my head goes is I'd really like to just be in the desert, maybe New Mexico, on the CDT. But maybe that's just nostalgia kicking in, because this is the time of year that I was down there 2 years ago. But I would really like to hike through the desert, maybe New Mexico, maybe Arizona Trail in the future. But yeah, I really like the desert.
The desert's really cool. If you've never hiked in the desert, it's incredible. It's hard to explain, but just the starry nights, the stars are unlike anything I've ever seen. And it's this really cool, crisp air that moves in at night, and then the sunset is always amazing, or the sunrise is always beautiful in the morning, and deserts are cool.
Yeah.
So that covers that. Next, final question from the list. Biggest challenge of a thru hike? Is it the mental aspect? Is it the physical aspect? Is it food, fatigue, anything like that? What's the biggest challenge on a thru hike? So that's tough. My final answer is mental challenge. It's you're out there doing the exact same thing all day, every day. You don't get to pick when you do it. Sometimes it's raining and it's horrible out, but throughout all of that, the mental battle is, how do I enjoy this? And at first that's a challenge, maybe on the first long hike, but you start to get into this state where you just really enjoy being out there all the time, and you're experiencing things that most people don't get to experience, which is really cool. And so, but back to the point, that's a big mental challenge to hike all day, every day, possibly wet and rainy, possibly freezing cold, and if you stop hiking, you get hypothermic. You just have to keep moving, and that's why I say mental challenge.
Yeah, I'd say if I was answering it for someone who wanted to come in and start a long distance hike or get into it, I would say in the beginning it's definitely a mental challenge and a physical challenge, and that's kind of what makes it a mental challenge, is because it is that physical challenge, and you know, the physical is what makes it mental in some cases.
Yeah. I think there's that first part of it that's almost entirely physical, where you don't have time to think about it. You're just so drained every day from hiking so much, and you're like, oh, I'll just wake up and do it again, I guess.
Yeah.
Once you get those muscles built, then that's when the mental game kicks in, and it's the long term, like, oh, I've been out here for 3 months, and I still have so far to go. And
you start looking at them, and it's an interesting question, because it changes throughout the actual trip, because there aren't many other things that you do for 6 months, and you have one goal for that whole entire 6 months. So having a goal for that long period of time, and looking at a map every day and viewing it as like, oh, I haven't made any distance, because my goal is Katahdin, or whatever it may be, like you that can play with you too. The whole aspect of that kind of, you're not making any progress at all day to day, but during the week you're making plenty of progress. So
yeah, and even day to day you start to see that progress, especially on these western trails. You can look back, see this giant ridge jutting out for like 20 miles, and just know that I just did that entire ridge today.
yeah.
So that's, I guess that depends on the trail.
Or an interesting kind of place that's represented on the PCT is near Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta. That area where you're hiking, if you're going northbound, you're hiking for days and seeing Mount Lassen in the ahead of you, and then you pass Mount Lassen and all of a sudden you see Mount Shasta, and you can see Mount Shasta in front of you for days, and then Mount Lassen behind you for days. So that's a really cool area where you get to see your progress as you go.
Yeah. That's a cool, so something cool about the Oregon and Washington section of the PCT is, like you were describing, it's kind of like being on this tiny wheel that you're hiking on, and these big mountains just pop up in front of you. You hike by them, and then suddenly they're behind you, and then the next one pops up, and it's like you're on this wheel of these giant mountains just popping up, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the list of questions I have. Now we're going to move to the comments, I guess. I'll scroll up a bit and try to backtrack a little bit. Let's see. Oh, I think this is the top. Would it be totally dangerous for a person or woman to hike alone? Did you hike alone or come across many lone hikers? So, hiking alone. I think, I hate to make blanket statements, but I think yes, it's perfectly safe. You have to take precautions. I think everyone should take certain precautions when you're hitchhiking, especially when you're out there alone in a really big stretch of wilderness where you might not see other people, like on the CDT. There's other precautions you may want to take. Some people choose to take a spot device, so if they get stranded, they have a way out, a help button, and that's a great option. But big picture, I think it's very safe to hike alone. My experience on trail, and I think yours would echo this, and probably pretty much anyone that has thru-hiked, with some small stories here and there, would echo that, yeah, it's overall very safe. I feel way safer than being in a city by 1,000 times, probably being in the woods. Yeah. I think, or you can go.
I think we have to kind of preface this with we are both males, and that comes with certain securities that I don't know, females may not find. But that being said, in general, it is a safer, or it feels like a safer place than living here in Denver. You know?
Yeah, it's safe. There's that initial fear of like, oh, I'm out in the woods by myself. Probably on your first through hike, oh, a bear could attack me, with all these animals could get me, but that's not true. No animals are out to get you. No one really gets attacked by bears. You have to be careful with your food, yes.
Yeah.
But and with a lot of your practices to keep those scents away and reduce them.
I think that initial fear of going out and doing a long distance hike or being in the woods by yourself is kind of mitigated by your experience and knowing what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of. Because there's definitely good, reasonable fear that you should have for certain things, and that's going to keep you safe. And then you'll find that there's things that you like aren't scary at all, or you shouldn't be afraid of, that you may have thought were going to be scary or be afraid of before you went. You build up a trust for things. You know,
Just do it. That's the message. Yeah. It's safe enough.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you can nitpick the whole thing and find things that like, oh, it's not safe to, be climbing on rocks in the middle of the backcountry, but like you're more aware of the danger when you're out there. You're more aware that you're secluded, so you act accordingly.
All right. Questions. I may miss questions, so what I'm going to do is scroll down to the bottom and you can start entering new ones, and I'll pick one of the last ones to answer while that happens. That one. Oh, that's interesting. How do you let someone know you're about to pass them without scaring them, and how to avoid people you don't groove with or you don't jive with?
I think for the first question, you need to start out with, if someone's wearing headphones, it's hard not to scare them.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's kind of understood. If you're wearing headphones and someone scares you, you have to accept it.
It's
You probably shouldn't be wearing headphones. Not that I don't, because I wear them all the time to listen to music, but you have to just be aware of that.
Yeah, because there's no efficient way to actually get someone's attention if you need to pass them on trail if they're wearing headphones.
Yeah.
You kind of have to yell at them or something.
So if they're not, I always have trekking poles, so I kind of I'll like jab a rock. There was this one guy that on the AT that always used to come up behind me, take his two poles and go clack, 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 and I hated that. Because I could hear him coming, and I was like, all right, he's like 10 feet behind me, and then suddenly he's like, clack, clack, clack. But, so don't do that, but maybe just like hit a little rock with your trekking pole, make a small noise, and they'll look back and be like, oh, there's another hiker.
Yeah. You gotta, I guess you gotta look at where this person in front of you is in their headspace. And if you're in the wood, hiking through the woods, you usually like listening to all the little sounds, and you're in kind of a zen hiking mode, and any loud sounds you're gonna naturally be attracted to, not only because it's a loud sound, it's different than what's going on around you, but you're gonna jolt, or like you're gonna be jolted by loud sounds because you're in the woods and you're a little more on edge. So when you are coming up to someone who doesn't hear you coming up, just keep that in mind, that you want to start low and kind of build their voice up, not just yell at them. Because you can get someone's attention, or you make sounds with trekking poles, or do something and get their attention, and then they'll look back and see you. And if they see you before you make your presence known, that's probably the best way of doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that covers it. For some reason I can't scroll up in the comments. It's kind of janky. Oh, there it goes. Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, Denver. Actually, technically, Arvada. But how do you say it? No one knows. Someone knows.
Have we ever barefoot hiked? I never have. I've always wanted to, but I've never done it.
I feel like it's something you have to do like, there's not many things exercise-wise that you really have to do before a thru hike, but I feel like conditioning your feet before a thru hike, if you're going to barefoot hike, would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I was always afraid that I was going to scratch them, poke them, or something, and then you put your feet back in your shoes, back in your dirty socks, and it gets infected, and that wouldn't be good at all.
Yeah. I think I've known a few people that barefoot hiked, and they always had stories of like a broken toe, and
yeah.
So in general, it's you'll probably be injured more, but a lot of people, not a lot, enough people do it.
Yeah.
It can be done. I don't know.
I've known some people who've hiked in sandals, like Chacos or Chivas.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, and but I have known someone who's walked into the woods, like off trail, but walked into the woods to do their business, and walking back had a stick jammed between their toes, and it was embedded about an inch inside in between their toes and their foot. So that can happen, but that definitely shouldn't scare you from doing it if you want to.
Yeah, I say go for it if you're ready for it. All right, let's see. So many questions. So there's a ton of questions. We're going to try to cover what we can. Sorry if we missed one. The comments are kind of scrolling a little fast. All right, we got that one. How gnarly is snow hiking for days? That's a good one.
Gnarly.
Snow hiking for days. It's not. I haven't snow hiked for days that often. There were times on the CDT where you're constantly on patches of snow or like 2 mile long stretches of snow. And there were times on the PCT like that too.
So my experience with the snow on the CDT, and it was his experience as well, because he was with me, but we were in New Mexico, just south of Cumbre,
In New Mexico?
yeah, just
Oh yeah,
by the
no,
border.
south of Cumbres Pass,
Yeah.
the Colorado border.
Yeah, and there was about a 10-mile section of the south side of the mountain that was covered in snow, and it was snow from the winter before, and all the snow on top had melted and frozen, so it was a really thick crust, but not thick enough to walk on. So it was about 10 miles of post holing through like a sheet of ice and then snow, and there were times when you post hole beyond your knees, and that eats up your shins a lot. So you start getting bloody shins.
This makes it sound really bad.
But that was kind of a odd case because there wasn't really a trail. No one had gone through it like where we were hiking that season, so we weren't in anybody's footsteps. For a normal case, like let's say on the PCT in the Sierra.
Yeah, because there's a lot of snow this year in the Sierra.
Yeah. In a normal year, you'll go through patches of snow, and then you'll like when you go over a pass or you go down the north side of the mountain. But there are times when, like this year, I'm sure people are going to be in snow
Pretty consistently.
Yeah.
There may be, probably the whole time actually.
Yeah.
This year. But to go back to the question, how gnarly is it to do it for days on end? It's really not too bad. I mean, it's your feet get wet, yeah. Normally, it's still sunny during the middle of the day, so you can dry them out. You're just walking on snow. It can get really cold, but your gear should prepare you for that. You might have to keep hiking throughout the day, and lunch breaks might be cold. But once you're in your bag at night, you're warm, you're cozy again, kind of recuperating.
And then I've gotten questions before about like how do I like how do I hike in the snow, or like what do I need for the snow, and it all depends on what type of snow or what type of time of year and what type of terrain you're gonna hike in. If you're in like in the east in the winter and there's snow on the ground, you're gonna be hiking in snow the whole time. But if you're in the Sierra in June, maybe not this year, but in a normal snowpack year, you're gonna be on hard pack snow some of the time.
Yeah.
So
That's most of through hiking. The snow you encounter is patches of snow. They can be up to a mile long, but you're not on it all day. Kind of go up on the snow, come down onto rock or mud, and so it's not so bad.
yeah, when you get into higher snow conditions or new snow pack, that's when you get, especially here in Colorado, and Sierras and the Cascades, then you get into avalanche danger and alpining and all this stuff.
Yeah. So on a through hike, there's three things that you might want in the snow, and that is micro spikes or some sort of traction, like really lightweight.
Micro spikes?
Micro spikes, or what are the other ones? Yak tracks aren't so great. Micro spikes, pretty much.
Yeah.
So micro spikes for when it's icy, and that'll be like if it's still really cold out, and especially early morning, that ice or the snow can be icy on top, and having shoes, you might not get enough traction, you might slide down that ice, so micro spikes keep you centered on that as you're hiking through the snow. So sometimes those are necessary if it's cold enough that it's icy. If not, and if it's really deep, fresh snow, you might need snowshoes. Otherwise, you're going to be post-holing all day up to your thighs, and you're not going to be able to make progress forward.
And there are conditions where you would need something beyond a micro spike because the slope is great enough where you need actual crampons.
Yeah.
Because in some conditions, micro spikes can slip off of your shoe.
Yeah.
So they're for more extreme conditions than yak tracks, but not quite crampons.
Yeah. Generally, micro spikes are good enough for through hiking, unless you're pushing boundaries you probably shouldn't push. Ice axes. If you're walking on steep snow, which there is a little bit on the PCT. Most years you don't need an ice axe on the PCT. This year you might. I don't know. I don't have enough experience to make that call. But you might also need snowshoes or micro spikes this year too. But back to ice axes. If you're hiking on steep terrain with loose snow that could avalanche, or if you don't know, you probably want to take an ice axe. And the big thing with ice axes is to actually be carrying them when you're crossing the ice field. So I saw this a lot on trail, and I'm guilty of it myself, definitely. But it's no good having an ice axe on steep snow if you're not actually holding it, because the whole point of an ice axe is so you can self-arrest when you're sliding down a steep snow field. And so that's just my tip. If you're out there on a steep snow field, have your ice axe in your hand. Most through hiking doesn't take ice axe use. You probably don't need one unless it's a high snow year or there's avalanche danger.
Yeah, but it doesn't do you any good if it's on your pack. So.
Yep. All right. Thoughts on Hyperlite? I think Hyperlite's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They have a pretty cool approach. It's just like a big sack approach to backpacks, and I really like that. Yeah. And the fact that they're waterproof is cool. Yeah. They seem durable. I don't know. I haven't used one personally.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't used them, but I remember seeing them on the AT in 2011, and it was just this small thing that these guys were creating, and now it's getting to a competitor to some of these bigger backpack manufacturers, which is cool. But yeah, they're pretty neat. They seem to be hitting the through hiking market a lot more, marketing wise and everything, lately. For a few years there, they were kind of just focusing on other things, it seemed. think this year you're going to see a lot of hyperlight packs out there.
3-day loop in the Smokies. I'll just answer this real fast. Check out the area around Mount Sterling, I think it is. It's an old abandoned fire tower, and you can get some really cool 360 views of the Smokies, and you don't have to have the crowds of the Smokies because you're on the other side.
Is that the fire tower with the broken steps that go up?
It's not on the AT directly.
Oh, okay.
It's just off.
Do you remember that one Smoky tower just right at the entrance, this southern entrance to
right after
Smoky
Fontana?
Mountains? Yeah. There was like this.
Name,
It was right off the trail, and there was a sketchy steps that went up, and when I got up there, it was in the morning, and it was just ice on every step, and I was climbing up, and I was like, this is sketchy.
So I'll tell a story. I've slept in that tower. You're not supposed to. I wasn't on the AT. This was before I thru-hiked it all. But this is the fire tower in the Smokies right after you head north from Fontana. And my friend and I were sleeping in there, and everything was fine. The sunset was incredible, and it was really early in the morning, and this was like our first or second time backpacking. And it's a really small, probably 6x6 space, so I was sleeping on top of the door that gets up into the fire tower that you have to lift up like a little hatch. And I'm dead asleep, and all of a sudden it starts rocking. And I hear like scratching at it, and it's pushing up on me. I'm like, oh man, a bear's come up the tower, and it's gonna come in and get us. Because I hadn't backpacked at all. I don't know. It was irrational, but because it was scratching, it was really weird. And I just sat there real still, and my friend came over and he got on top of the door with me. And then a minute passes, dead silence, and then I hear a step on the ladder, and this guy just, in this tiny voice, says, hello? I guess he heard us, that's great. So it's just a guy. And then we let him up because we were being pretty rude, sleeping in there. But anyways, questions. What type of cooking stove? That's a good question. I've used a lot of different stove systems. I've tried, on the AT I cooked on fire a lot, which is not something I really do much anymore. I've used alcohol stoves, which is not something I do much anymore either, for a very specific reason, which we should get to. But
should we just do that now?
I'm going to answer the question, which is canister stoves. And then, what? Should I say why? Yeah, okay, brief explanation. Canister stoves, because they're super simple. I've never had one break on me. It's lightweight. When you're on a thru-hike, and I could make a canister last, a small 100 gram last probably a month on trail, cooking once per night. So it's super efficient. It's really not that much heavier than alcohol. It might be lighter on a long hike. I've never really done that math, but I would wager that it is. And I'm of the opinion, and this is going to probably be really controversial, but I'm of the opinion that alcohol stoves are dead and should not be used anymore. Maybe not on the Appalachian Trail, but if they're going to be dead, they might as well just be dead.
Yeah.
And here's why.
I'm under the belief that alcohol stoves are dangerous. They are a neat thing to create, and you get to build your own stove, and it's this thing that you've created, and it's
really fun.
Yeah, and you can experiment with different mixtures of alcohol and different things and different holes in the cat food can, and that is fun. But as far as long distance hiking goes, 2/3 of the long distance hiking trails are in normal conditions, where the normal conditions of those two trails, we're talking the PCT and the CDT, where a majority of the trail is in a drought now.
Permanently dry, pretty much.
Yeah, and this is especially in California. Aside from this year, they've been getting some water and blah blah, but it doesn't mean they're out of a drought. And for a lot of the PCT and some of the CDT, you aren't actually allowed to use a canister stove or a alcohol stove.
Yeah.
And it's because there's a big fire danger. You have a open flame of alcohol that is sometimes pressurized, and you may be professional, you may know what you're doing and have it in front of you and have cleared all the brush away, so you're doing everything you can to mitigate the chance of a fire, but you can't control what the other person is doing. You can't control what the wind is doing. Someone could walk through your camp and right by your stove and knock it over. I've seen it happen. I've seen it with thru hikers that have hiked 2, 3 thru hikes, 3 trails, and they're experienced. They know what they're doing, and they still knock over alcohol stoves.
Everyone makes mistakes. It can happen. There's no off valve on an alcohol stove, so once it's over, you can try to flip it over and burn yourself, but it's probably going to start a small fire.
Yeah. And when you put these screens around them, you're condensing that heat, and not only does that heat up your pot better, but it also pushes that heat down in the soil more, and you can get layers of pine needles underneath your stove that you just assume is dirt, and it actually heats those pine needles up and catches them on fire. Then you go to bed, you go to sleep, you've made sure you put all your fire out and everything, and then in the middle of the night your camp is on fire because this dry pine needle layer has caught fire and bloomed up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Long story short, it's probably not smart to use them, certainly not on the PCT or CDT.
And on the AT, we just saw a huge fire outside of Idlewild?
Yeah. No, that's
not the right trail.
No, the knock, NOC.
Yeah.
Shayla Bald or
right
just
outside of
before that.
Gatlinburg, yep.
Yeah.
But there was a fire.
It's happening more.
Yeah.
So that's climate change for you. But as that zone is moving up where it's more frequently dry, suddenly more fires are happening.
Yeah.
So we'll have to be more careful about that.
And it's that responsibility is on everybody who uses the backcountry, no matter if they're long distance hiking or out for the weekend or day. I think that we should all be shifting away from alcohol stoves, and we should advise everybody who are around to shift away from alcohol stoves, because Joe has touched on this a lot, but there are canister stoves out there that are extremely light now, and they're really, in my eyes, there's no reason to continue using the risky alcohol stoves.
Yeah, for a 1 ounce canister stove.
Yeah.
And the fuel's widely available, even on the CDT. It's not hard.
But we'll get off of our soapboxes.
Okay. I guess that got a bit preachy. Where the comments are just jumping. Let's see. So I'm just going to be going from the bottom of the list now because there's too many to go through. So if you have a question, maybe after or once we get close to a break, post it and I'll try to get to it. What's your typical base weight and how much money did you budget for the PCT? Typical base weight for me is 12 pounds on a thru hike. Maybe I've been as low as 10. Really, people can do it on 6 pounds. That's pretty frequently done.
Mm-hmm.
People do it on 50 pounds, which you shouldn't do.
No.
I think a bare minimum to shoot for is around 15 pounds. That's the best that's the least. That's the low bar. You should maybe try to do better if you can, but 15 pounds is going to be light enough where your body's not exhausted every day from carrying that load.
And you don't need to break the bank to go light.
No.
And I think that's a misconception sometimes, because people think they have to get all new gear. But a lot of times you can just get rid of the gear, that you don't need or you don't. Is a comfort item or something.
Yeah.
And you can reduce your weight down significantly. But yeah.
Also, as Nemor pointed out, you don't have to have a stove. Also, you can not take a stove and just eat dry food or peanut butter.
Or just eat non-hydrated, dehydrated food for a month?
Not
in Mexico?
non-heated. Rehydrate your food in a can, but don't heat it. Very possible.
You can get a container to hydrate it during the day while you're hiking. Just put the container outside your pack and let the sun do the work. That works. You can experiment with that and get that to work pretty well.
Yeah. Okay, I get this one all the time, so I'll definitely answer this one. Have you ever had a snake try and crawl into bed or sleeping bag with you when cowboy camping? I get, like, have you had spiders, scorpions, all of that? A lot of people wonder that, and I never have. I've had bugs crawl on me. I've had ants overtake my sleeping mat. I've never had a snake. I've had scorpions around, but I've never had a scorpion drawn to me or come to me.
Yeah.
I've never had any bad experience cowboy camping except for realizing when I woke up that it was raining and I had to put up my tarp.
Yeah, I've had very similar experiences. I think the fear, or what I've heard, is that the fear is that snakes are going to seek somewhere warm and then go into your sleeping bag. I've heard that at dusk when they're done hunting, if your sleeping bag is out and you're at the campfire, they could crawl in there. Same thing with scorpions, and when you're lying down at night, scorpions can go underneath your pad and certain tent and such to seek warmth. I've never had it happen before. I do get in the habit of not putting my sleeping bag out too much far in advance from going to bed, but that's.
I've never had an issue. I don't know of anyone that's had an issue. I had a bug crawl into my ear once, like an ant, which was kind of terrifying.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, but I got it out, and no bad experiences.
Yeah. I've had other things crawl in my tent in the middle of the night, but just not snakes.
What's the best sock material to use long distance hiking? What?
Nothing.
Oh.
Myself.
Best sock material is by far merino wool, or wool. Yeah.
Not wool. I think that the best material for a sock is a blend between the synthetic and merino wool.
Yeah, but that's what most are, though.
Yeah.
But like Darn Toughs, Darn Toughs are my go-to.
Yeah.
They're far more durable than smart wools, and they have a lifetime warranty. So if you get a hole in them, and I've done this a few times, you just mail them to Darn Tough, and Darn Tough mails you a new pair.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good about that. I know a lot of companies kind of come out like that, and then they'll abandon it because they find out, oh, the thru-hiking community really goes through socks or really goes through gear, and it's understandable. You can't expect them to deal with that, but Darn Tough does. And
yeah, I think that they sell enough socks for the thru-hiking market to not be an impact on the bottom line. But
but wool, and I guess we should say why, and that's because it wicks away your sweat and then disperses of it as fast as it can, and it tends to not stink as badly, but on a thru-hike everything stinks, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and then the synthetic blend of wool. The wool is for the wicking, and if it's a thicker sock, the heat, the warmth. But the synthetic is for the durability. And durability on socks in thru-hiking is a really big thing.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest factor is how long are these socks going to last me.
Yeah. And I'll say Darn Tough is really good. That's who I primarily use now. And have used on most of my thru hikes. But on the AT, I hiked half of the AT with 2 pair of Orvis socks, and I still wear them today. I have no idea how they're doing so good.
Orvis.
Yeah. It's the only thing from Orvis I'd probably buy, but they worked really well.
We didn't do the budget part of the PCT thing. Budget. I've done a video on it. I always say try to shoot for $5,000 for a thru hike. That should be enough that you can hike and you have a small buffer afterwards. It can be done for way cheaper. I've known people that did it for free almost, and it can be done for way more money. And some people treat it more like a vacation, which is perfectly fine too.
I feel like this might just be my experience, but I feel like the AT, it would be significantly harder to stay on your budget than the other two trails.
Yeah.
CDT, it's really easy to stay on a budget because you know you have to budget in a little bit more for certain things, but the amenities just aren't there.
Yeah.
They're not there that frequently.
And you're on such a tight deadline, you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Whereas AT, there's tons of time to screw around.
And there's plenty of towns to screw around in, so.
Yeah. And that's part of the fun of the AT in some ways.
Yeah. I think $5,000 is a good base. That'll get you by, even if you have to replace some gear, spend nights in a hotel room every once in a while.
Yeah, or if something happens and you have to flip-flop or something crazy, that should cover it. Not being able to, I started a long hike and I couldn't eat. For the first week and a half, my food bag repulsed me. Is this common? Yeah?
Yeah.
I've heard of it happening. It hasn't happened to me personally. What about you?
On the AT, that was the first time I had really done anything that physical, and I thought that I'd just hop on the AT, start hiking 13, 20 miles, and then my metabolism and my hunger would kind of ramp up from there. But that's not what happened. After like 3 weeks, I really wasn't eating enough, and I just didn't have I wasn't hungry. I didn't want to eat, and I didn't want to eat the food I had. But there was a time around 3 weeks, I believe, that was when my body was like, no, we just have to eat. So then my hunger shot up from there. But on the PCT, or no, this was on the CDT, I ordered all of these Cliff Bars, and like just boxes of Cliff Bars to put in resupply boxes, and then I threw some in my bag for the first section, got on trail. The first day, I ripped out a Cliff Bar and started eating and almost threw up because I was just sick of them from a year before when I was on the PCT. So you can get sick of food, and that's a little different than just being sick of trail food in general, but...
Yeah. I would say it does take time to build that hunger and get used to eating this not great food. It can be great, but for most people it's not great food.
Yeah. And I've definitely you go through waves of like being really hungry and eating, and then just getting into a groove of and maybe not really feeling like your food is appetizing and needing to eat more in town.
Yeah.
Adjusting to that balance.
Or just switching what you're eating completely, maybe.
Yeah.
Alright. How hard was navigation on the CDT? I got lost a lot, but never... Like, getting lost was almost a daily thing. Like, oh, I'm a little off trail. I just need to go over to the top of that ridge or something. But it's never like, oh, I'm 20 miles in the middle of nowhere. So how hard is it? It's not too hard. Anyone can do it. You just have to be aware and keep reminding yourself to notice where you are, look at your surroundings, look at your map if you need to.
Yeah. I think it's funny because I remember on the AT, people would get off trail, like it wouldn't be marked correctly or it wouldn't be marked all that well. So they'd get off trail and they'd have to turn around and walk a half mile back. And they would just be disgusted and just like, oh man, I can't believe I had to hike an extra mile today. But on the CDT, that's like every day. Like you're constantly like, oh, I follow this ridge, and then you put your map away, and then you're like, something seems a little off, and then you realize you've been on the ridge for way too long. But the difference between the AT and the CDT is the AT, you have to stay on trail, or you're going to be cutting through private land, or barbed wire fences, or whatever it is. The CDT is pretty wide open, so if you're off trail, and that trail may have just been a route on a ridge, and you're like, oh shoot, I missed my turnoff, I can just cut down this and kind of make my own way.
Yeah.
You can't really do that on the AT.
Not really. The CDT gives you a lot of freedom to make mistakes, but also a lot of freedom to correct them and have fun doing it,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. It does some weird stuff though, like you'll be hiking on a trail, and it's an established trail, and the CDT will just cut off to the right, and there's no path or anything. You just have to know based on your maps that you're cutting off to the right and hiking through this field of grass to get to where the CDT is going.
Do you remember in New Mexico, there was that section where it was like newly constructed trail, it was nice, it was great, but we were hiking along just cross country across this like ridge or something, and the trail just started on this pass, and we're like, this is a weird place for this to start because there's no other trails that lead to this. And then we, hiked along that nice, cleanly cut path for a mile or two, and then it just stopped, and it was just gone.
And you just walk off into the sunset.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a really cool experience getting to navigate more on a thru hike. So it can be intimidating, but don't let it keep you from doing it because it's really fun.
Yeah, and it adds, like especially if you've hiked the AT or even the PCT or both of them, the CDT is it's a fun transition to navigation and all this. And
yeah.
You shouldn't be afraid of it.
It'll make you want to start hiking routes
Yeah.
after you do it and just going off through the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is cool because the AT is a very confining, as is the PCT, mostly, a very confining trail.
Yeah.
Alright. Homemade dehydrated food? I haven't yet. I guess I should say the question. Have you taken any homemade dehydrated food on any of my hikes? I haven't really done much dehydrating. I kind of just got distracted with other things.
Yeah.
You?
I've taken dehydrated food on trail that someone else has dehydrated for me, and that's that shout out has to go to my mom. So thanks, Mom. But she sent some dehydrated food out to me, and this was mainly on the CDT. I wasn't thinking correctly, and when I started the CDT, I decided to ditch my stove before I went on trail, but I had already packed dehydrated food. So I was going stoveless through New Mexico, but I had dehydrated food that I had to hydrate because some of that stuff is really hard. So I tried to put it in a container and put it out in the sun and have it hydrated. There were some things that worked great on, there were other things that it didn't. I got really used to eating crunchy rice and half dehydrated meat and stuff like that. But once you get a stove and you have the ability to heat it up, it works great. If you're going to dehydrate chicken, dehydrated canned chicken, it holds better over time. Dehydrated.
It's all those great preservatives.
Yeah, you gotta love what you put in your body. And then there's ground beef, any type of veggie you can imagine, and then fruits, oranges, pears, apples, bananas. It can be really good, and if you get a good recipe and get a good way to hydrate it, it's a really good way to change things up than what you can buy on trail.
Yeah.
And get some nutrition and some greens in there.
So, I will tack this question onto it. How many calories do you intake every day?
I don't know. I don't really keep track of it. I never really have. I just try to. I'm not a heavy eater or just a snacker in general in my day-to-day life, but on trail I have to force myself and get into a routine of eating all the time. So I try to pack enough that I can eat every hour pretty much. I pack my food up in my hip pockets or somewhere where it's accessible for breakfast in the morning, or for 11sies, whatever you want to call it, and then make sure I have food accessible throughout the day before lunch. That way I can snack before lunch. You don't have to sift through my pack and eat. I can just eat and snack as I go, and then have a set lunch, and snack as I go, and then have a set dinner. And then a lot of times I'll have a snack after dinner before I go to bed. So I don't count calories, I just eat all the time, and I get in a routine of doing that. So.
Oh.
What about you?
Oh, calories. So yeah, I mean, the old adage that you'll always hear is, oh, you consume 5,000 calories a day when you're through hiking. And I think that is mostly true. That's kind of a general calorie count that I try to shoot for with when I'm buying a resupply. I go in and honestly, I just go into the store and I look for the highest calorie foods that I can find for the least weight. And you come to know certain things like oil is great for trail if you need to add some more fat to your diet. Tuna is a great way to get protein. That's a tangent, I guess. So I guess the adage of 5,000 calories is fairly true, but you can do it on less, you can do it on more, I guess. And everyone's a little bit different. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Your body's going to naturally know, wow, I need more food. If you're losing a lot of weight, you'll know that as well, and some people have that problem.
Yeah.
If you're losing a lot of weight, try adding oil into all of your meals and gorging in town, I guess.
Or butter. Yeah.
Butter, yeah. Ghee.
Yeah, town food is key for me. I don't think that I can carry enough calories. I have a high metabolism and I don't have a lot of reserve on me. So I generally can't eat enough, and especially towards the end of a thru hike, I get to a point where I feel drained more because I'm not eating enough. So I have to make sure that I eat more town food, I bring more calorie dense foods into the backcountry with me for the first day or two. And so there is a change in food and what I consume and how much I consume throughout the thru hike, and depending on what condition I'm in.
Alright. Tunkara, there's more UL and Tunkara coming. I'm putting together a UL kit right now, kind of building it out, so hopefully we're actually planning on doing a lot of hiking this summer with the gear we make, so I'm sure there will be more of that to come. Did you ever mix emergency or Mio to offset the taste of water? Yes, all the time. Mio, some of the Kool-Aid packets are okay. Yeah. Just anything really to add flavor.
There are two types of water. Water that needs Neo, and water that definitely should not have Neo, or any drink additive. If there's like a stream or a fresh spring, drink it straight. That stuff is the best water you can get. You know, it's naturally filtered. You know, it's pretty spot on. But there's also a lot of water sources in New Mexico on the CDT, and some on the PCT in dry areas, where you're drinking cow manure. You're drinking out of cow patty water, and the taste of that water is not great. So yeah, Neo is great to just add. You can, depending on how nasty the water looks, you can add more flavoring or less flavoring. So
the TV, where did it go? Hey, thanks. Big thanks goes out to Lucas. So the CDT southbound looked very remote. I can't find the question. Was it that remote? There it is. CDT Sobo looked really remote up north. Did it feel that way? Yeah, it felt remote the entire way, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's not something you can really get on the AT or the PCT, but no one is out there, except on the Colorado section, no one is out there hiking. It's just you out there walking through the desert, walking through these mountains, and it's the glacier section up north is a little busier.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're out there, and there's no one else out there hiking.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I think aside from Glacier National Park, Yellowstone National Park, and Colorado, the whole state of Colorado, I think that aside from those places, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw 20 or less people on trail. Like, actually, like when you're on the CDT, you're, you know, off of any existing trail that anybody would actually hike, or like go on a day hike or something. You're out there, and you don't see many people unless they're through hiking.
Yeah.
And there aren't that many people who through hike the CDT, so.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest experiences you can have on a long distance hike. You know, laying your head down on every night and just knowing that there's no one else around you, and you don't have to worry about, you know, anybody
being seen naked.
Yeah, being seen naked, or anybody just like hiking through in the middle of the night and interrupting you.
Yeah.
You know, I think I had more cows interrupt me than people.
Have we out the Superior hiking trail? Yeah, I would love to do that trail eventually. That's a place I haven't really explored much up anywhere in the Superior area, Great Lakes, Thousand Lakes, Boundary Waters. I would love to go up there and do some hiking. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Probably. Oh?
Something happened?
Is it off still?
Video output low. The video came back, but it's low.
I don't. It looks like it's buffering. What happened? Maybe it's the internet?
Video output low.
Is it
still streaming?
So can you guys hear us now? Okay, we're good. I'm gonna refresh this. Not sure what happened.
There's a solar flare or something.
Yeah, it's probably definitely that. What were we talking about? No, I just refreshed it.
I don't remember what we were doing.
I think we just finished. Where were we? Is it strange to get home after being back on trail so long? Definitely. It really sucks. It's because you have so much freedom and beauty on the trail.
The experience of getting home, like, it's this weird, like, I don't know, battle of, like, you want, like, for weeks on trail, you're like, this is ending, I'm preparing myself, and I kind of do want to go back home and visit with family and sleep on a bed and all these things. And then you finally get there, and it's cool for a few hours, and then it hits you that you're not on trail anymore, and you're sleeping in a bed, and you got to figure out what you're going to do afterwards, and all these things. And my experiences have been that I usually keep my pack packed and ready to go. The process of actually taking things out, putting them away, is really not appealing to me at all. And I usually get pretty depressed. I think anybody who is around me after a hike can kind of attest to that.
Yes.
Yeah. So never get off trail.
Well, output's low again. I had some foot problems in the past. What have I learned? What did I change?
Yes, tell us your ways.
Yeah, I wish I had ways. I don't know. I haven't learned much. I never really go to a doctor for it. I just kind of hike through it after it heals for a bit. and it's always worked for me. So I don't really know. I don't even think I have gone to a doctor actually in ER, and they never know. With foot injuries, there's so many things it can be, and so many small bones that they never know what it actually is. So I don't know. I heal up for a week, and then I keep hiking, and I'm good to go. So.
Unfortunately,
answer.
I think there were bad people to ask injury-wise. Like you've had pretty serious injuries with your feet, I guess.
Yeah.
But I have some knee pain about 300 miles into a hike on my right knee. But in the past, I've kind of just hiked through it. You get to know your body, and you get to push it. And you think you know the limits of your own body, but I guess you know your own limits until you don't, and you hurt yourself. So it's kind of a hard question to ask because it is so personal.
Yeah, don't have a great answer really.
Just hike a lot and get to know your body.
After the PCT and CDT, do you ever think about doing the AT again? All the time, yeah. I do wonder if I would be able to handle the crowds on the AT, but there were a lot of people my year, but I've just grown to really like being alone in many aspects of life. But I don't know. I would definitely do the AT again. I think about the misty mornings and just the jagged, rocky but eroded mountains.
The wet, like just dense ground.
Yeah. The AT is so wet all the time, and I always forget that when you're out here it's so dry. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, Wildcats. I still am a huge fan. I've got some sitting right over there that I wear every day with holes in them.
I thought we were talking about a football team or something.
The Wildcats.
We've changed gears.
I still love the Wildcats. I'd still recommend them. I 100% recommend hiking and trail runners if you don't already. There's no other way to do it.
I think that there is some space for...
There's no other way to do it.
No. I think there is some space for boots, high-top boots on the CDT, or sorry, on the AT, and the conditions there in certain sections. If your ankles aren't... If you have weak ankles, that might be a good way to transition. But I think that if you have the ankle strength, and ankle strength is something you can build.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are afraid of not having ankle support, but really...
It grows with time.
Yeah.
It gets better. I don't buy into the myth of boots really supporting you that much. Unless they have rigid structure in them, they don't... I've rolled my ankle, or not rolled it, but I could have rolled my ankle in a boot because my heel still flexes the entire way.
Yeah, I think that I use the Breeze, Fast Breeze on the AT, and it's been so long since I've worn them that I don't really know if it gives me much ankle support.
Yeah.
But I would never wear those again. Partially because I just wear trail runners now, but
Alright.
I wouldn't say never wear those again. I'd probably wear them in some case.
So we're gonna run this. We're gonna run the stream until an hour 30 minutes. So I guess about 20 more minutes, but we'll keep doing this if you guys have more questions over time. All right.
We have plenty.
You don't have to get angry.
Plenty of tea.
Ever thought of hiking the PNT, the Pacific Northwest Trail? Definitely. That'll happen at some point.
Yeah, I would love to hike the PNT and join the PCT somehow. Maybe do, I don't know, it's weird because the PCT intersects it kind of halfway through or 1/3 through, so you have to go out to Glacier and then come back or something, but yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
To Glacier and then back and then to the Olympia Peninsula. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Huh. Questions? advice. Where did they go? Thoughts, advice for a PCT yo-yo attempt. I don't know if I have enough experience with yo-yos to offer advice.
The PCT would be trickier than the AT. When would you even start?
You would have had to start maybe a few months ago.
You would have to. So I think it would be a lot tougher in a year like this year.
Maybe not though, because you're going to be skiing no matter what if you're doing winter. So maybe you just ski.
I think the idea would be to start in the southern terminus, hike north, and get to the Sierras early, and get up to the Canadian border and back before the winter, which would be doable if you could get through the Sierras early enough. But this year it may be a little tougher to get through them early.
This year you could ski them though.
Yeah.
Or snowshoe.
If you were for that, yeah.
Yeah. If I were to do it, I would have started early this year and gone up through the desert, skied through the Sierra, and just continued north.
Yeah.
By the time you got to Oregon, it'd be nice and cool, like summer.
If you're already considering it, you've probably already researched Peter. That's what her name is.
Trauma and
Pepper.
Pepper.
Yeah, Pepper and Trauma.
Yeah, look into what they did.
Yeah, they did the PCT. It was the first PCT winter through hike. They did it southbound. Some on snowshoes, some on skis, some hiking. Look into their hike. They have a lot of good information, and they do talks. I think Pepper's going to be at the CDT kickoff, maybe talking about it. So if you can get down there, if you're in the area, Silver City, New Mexico.
Do we have fun jobs? I have a fun job. I work at a gear store in Denver, Farrell. Just go visit. Yeah, I enjoy it, and I do YouTube, which I really enjoy, and is my favorite thing I do. So yeah, I enjoy my time when I'm not on trail, although I'd rather be on trail.
Yeah, I'd much rather be on trail as well, but as a career or avenue to make money, I'm a process control technician, so work in industry, which is a lot different than hiking. So
yeah, this one will be cool. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Greatest on-trail meal. I'm assuming this is the greatest meal I've had on a long trail, or that's how I'm going to treat it.
it's a complex question.
Alright, we'll start with greatest meal to make in the backcountry. Your favorite meal that you pack out. Mine is ramen. It's just ramen, but it's really fast, really easy to do. You can flavor it with all sorts of anything you want. Throw it in the ramen. It works well. You can do dehydrated veggies with it. It's simple. I got so sick of pasta sides on the AT. There's not much I can eat from a grocery store anymore, but ramen is one of those things that I always love.
Yeah. My go-to meal is always ramen and instant mashed potatoes, but and those can be really good if you've had a bad day or you've had an exhausting day. You know, like that can be super good. That can be one of your favorite meals. It all depends on the context before the meal.
That's true.
But Mountain House meals were always a treat. Didn't have those often, but they're delicious. Some of them.
Sort of. Enough.
Compared to ramen and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
But packing food you would normally not hike or bring on a backpacking trip is really cool. Is really good. You can pack things that and you usually pack something in for that night or maybe the next day. Packing a sandwich you bought, packing. Some people pack in bacon and eggs for meals.
A pizza. Pack out a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, okay, so best meal on trail, what do you say? Like in a trail town or on a trail?
Of all time?
Of all time.
I think the fanciest meal I had and the most complex tasting, culinary piece of art would be the restaurant in Anaconda, Wyoming.
Montana.
Montana.
Anaconda, Montana.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called.
It was the something blue.
Blue Moon. No. It was a steakhouse, right?
Steakhouse in Anaconda.
Anaconda, Montana. It was awesome.
It was really good. I think we all had steaks.
As a side note, the buffet at the Timberline Lodge in Oregon on the PCT is awesome for any meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I don't know if they do dinner. Do they do dinner?
They don't do an all-you-can-eat dinner, but the cool thing about the Timberline Lodge is they do an all-you-can-eat lunch or breakfast, I believe. Look that up.
Yeah.
But it's super good.
Yeah. But my favorite meal on any trail was on the AT in, I can't remember the name of the town, but there's this home-style or family-style restaurant called The Home Place, and they just bring out these bowls of amazing food to you, like blackberry cobbler, unlimited blackberry cobbler, fried chicken, just all sorts of good stuff, like southern cooking, but really good. And so that's my favorite meal on trail.
I did not go to the Home Place, so.
Big mistake. Oh, looks like we're offline again. Oh no, we're back. Weird. Internet.
Why is it green?
That means healthy. Yeah, it's healthy. It was red when it was.
Cool. We're healthy.
Alright, let's see. More questions. Can't go. Have you ever considered a really fast hike, like 35 miles plus per day? Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've never done it. I think we both do around 25 on average per day, so 35 is very doable.
You're talking about on trail or off trail?
On trail. What?
Like on a thru-hike or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Why would you do that around here?
Okay. I don't know. I thought maybe the question was, have you ever gone out and done a 35-mile hike outside of Boulder or outside of Denver? But on trail life.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are pushing those boundaries as far as how fast you can hike every day on trail. And I've never been a fast hiker per se, but I think we both do 25 a day on average.
I've done 40s and 50s and 60s before, but not normally, you know. But I like pushing 35 miles. Like that's a good challenge for the day in some cases, but not every day. What about packs?
Show our packs. This is just a pack. Oh, we do have our packs.
Yeah.
So we have these. If you guys want to see gear, I just packed this up with most of the gear that I use. If you wanted to see these packs, I don't know, these are just, this is a DIY one that I've been working on. It's pretty simple. It's just a big main pocket, a huge mesh pocket so I can stuff all of my stuff I need on the outside, and side pockets. It's got a place for a hip belt. It's removable though, and it's just got normal back straps. I don't know. The X-Pack is waterproof, but I haven't seam taped it yet, so that's something I'm working on the next iteration, because I need to manipulate the seams a little bit so that I can actually tape them efficiently. So that's this pack. Got a big stretchy top. It's a work in progress. I've got some more prototyping to do, but let's see. Favorite gear luxury item?
Cell phone. Nowadays, most luxury is done through cell phone. I mean, when I hacked the AT, I didn't have I had just a dumb phone, flip phone. But I guess throughout my time on the PCT, I got a little more used to carrying
Go on.
I got used to bringing a smartphone and then introducing music and that stuff. So listening to music throughout the day, that's pretty good.
I use a pillow. I use an inflatable pillow, and I really like it. I get a lot of flack for it, but I have to have something supporting my head, and I'm almost always wearing my down jacket.
Not flack for it.
Yeah, for carrying a pillow.
Yeah.
Because it's a pillow, but I like pillows. It's like a 2-ounce one, I think, which is a lot for a pillow, but I think it's worth it.
I don't use one.
Designing a pack. They keep jumping. That pack is a custom pack that he's been working on.
Oh yeah. Maybe we can show it if you want, I guess.
You want to show it?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
So this is a pack I've been working on. This is just the first prototype, just kind of getting used to making packs. Really simple, just have a stretch mesh pocket in the front here. And then 2 water bottle holders on the sides. There's daisy, look pretty thin daisy chain on the sides for compression, side compression. Back to the front here we have 2 securing points for trekking poles, ice axe, along with an ice axe loop on the bottom. Wanted to make a pretty robust pack, something that would be would last long, be robust. You can hold any weight, not worry about seams tearing or popping or anything. It's just the first iteration, and gonna work off of it in the future.
We're both just kind of experimenting with different packs and styles, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's been fun to see what works and what doesn't work. Yeah, Palante packs are awesome. Alright, so we're getting near the end. If anyone has a last minute question, feel free to type it up now, and we'll try to answer it, but probably going to cut off the stream fairly soon. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be able to go that light, but yeah. Thanks. Pack is not for sale exactly yet, but I'm working on some stuff, moving towards that in the future. We'll see. Oh, that's a tough one. The next adventure. I don't know. This we have to leave on this question. Next adventure, I don't know. I would love to do the Hayduke Trail, Arizona Trail, Superior Trail, Pacific Northwest Trail. I would like to do the AT again, and the PCT and the CDT. Go for it.
I think right now, if I had to choose a trail in the same scope as the PCT, CDT, and AT, but kind of still the next step, maybe doing the Hayduke and connecting it with the Southwest Horseshoe. That sounds like an amazing. I mean, if you don't know, Southwest Horseshoe starts at the Hayduke Trail in Arches National Park and continues down the Hayduke and then runs into the Arizona Trail that goes down through Arizona and runs into the North Enchantment. Northeast?
Grand Enchantment.
Grand Enchantment Trail. And it kind of makes this horseshoe through the Southwest. It looks pretty sweet. It's around the same mileage as the CDT, and but it's a lot more navigating, a lot more remote, even than the CDT. So I think that would be a pretty sweet adventure.
Yeah. I think we're both pretty keen on doing some routes now, so just going out and hiking through where there's no trail and kind of connecting peaks, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the CDT kind of puts that into you, makes you really want to just get out where there's no trails.
Yeah.
Alright, we'll do 3 more questions. That should be an hour and a half. Yeah, the Vagabond loop.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So we kind of touched on that earlier, John. Neither of us have really had creepy crawlies get on us while cowboy camping. I've had an ant crawl into my ear. That's kind of the worst, but that could have happened anywhere.
I've had I guess I'll just tell a story.
Why don't you go ahead and tell the story?
Yeah. So I was on the Colorado Trail, and I was under my tarp, and my tarp sits about 6 inches above the the ground. And I was just sitting there, eating my meal. Went to bed, and around 9 o'clock, a pack of coyotes ran through, and those things sound horrible up close, especially in the middle of the night. But that kind of got me kind of a little on edge. But I got back to sleep, and around 2 o'clock, something woke me up. I didn't realize what had woken me up, so I opened my eyes, and out of the corner of one of my eyes, I saw the silhouette of a cat. And I knew it wasn't a house cat because I was in the middle of the woods, So, yeah, after some investigating afterwards, it turned out it was probably a bobcat. But it was 6 inches from my face, and the first thing that I thought to do was punch it. And then I convinced myself not to do that because that's a bad idea. Don't punch an animal when they're 6 inches from your face, unless it's attacking you. But the second thing that I thought was I should probably get my headlamp and just turn my headlamp on so it knows I'm here. But it was standing on my headlamp. So the third thing I thought was I just need to make a noise, So I lifted my head. As soon as I lifted my head, the cat just stopped because it was kind of moseying around and just stared right at my face. And then what came out of my mouth, I was pretty frightened and kind of tired. So what came out of my mouth was, "Go away!" And as soon as I said that, it slowly backed out. The only noise I heard it make was rubbing up against my tarp, and then it just scurried off into the night. So, yeah. Bobcat 6 inches from your face in the middle of the night, it's kind of freaky.
Yeah. Animal encounter stories? I guess that was
one.
Pretty good one.
There are other ones on trail, but
yeah. What else? Been to the Adirondacks, and I really enjoyed it there.
yeah.
I'd go back. Yeah.
I spent my first few years of existence in the Adirondacks, and I've always wanted to go back to go hike and explore that area more. But I'd definitely like to get up there.
Favorite Triple Crown trail? We'll end on that one. And you have to have a solution, or else.
There can't be any cop-outs.
Nope. You have to have a trail.
Just one.
Just one. I think I know mine. I love all the trails. I would hike all of them again. But CDT is just by far the most adventurous to me. It felt like I was out on an adventure navigating through the woods. There was grizzly country, so that was kind of this big fear that I had never explored before. And because black bears I've never had an issue with. I don't concern myself when I'm sleeping with black bears, but grizzly bears. That sounds.
Black bears.
No. But grizzly bears kind of scare me a little bit because they're slightly more unpredictable and much more aggressive. But so yeah, CDT was cool. I would do all of them again though. I guess, was that a cop out? CDT.
No. I'm in the same boat. I would do them all again, but I would have to pick the PCT. I think the PCT had this amazing change in terrain and geography as you went north, and going from that desert conditions in the south and working your way up to the Sierra Mountains and hiking through the Sierra Mountains, and then getting through the less exciting or lull in the hike in Northern California, which I still think is great. You get to see these small towns of the Northern Sierra and Northern California. You get to experience some of those cultures, and then you get into Oregon and Washington and the Cascades, and you go through the Sisters in Oregon, and it's an amazing. That trail keeps you excited as you hike through it.
Yeah.
There's always something up ahead. I mean, there is on every trail, but that one is just like it one-ups itself as you go through it. And I think that it would do that if you went south as well.
Yeah.
It's just an exciting trail.
Yeah. While the CDT is my favorite, I think the PCT is the perfect through hiking trail.
Yeah.
It's graded really well. It does this extreme change in climates and topography, and I mean you get volcanoes up north, and it's really cool. Yeah. Through hiking. And if you are thinking about through hiking, you should do it.
Yeah.
That's the message to take away from this, hopefully. All right, so got those questions. We're gonna end it here for now. We will be back in the future, I guess, if there's a need for it to answer more questions. So if you didn't get your question answered now, you can come back in the future and we'll answer more. We'll be doing more live streaming on random topics. I'll be doing more on my DIY stuff for sure, and should have some hiking videos soon, so that should be cool. Yeah. And also, I'm doing a live stream this week sometime, because tomorrow in the mail I'm getting something really cool, which is a 3D printer to start prototyping different parts for my pack and for outdoor gear. And so I'm going to be live streaming me building that and then eventually building things with it. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Do you have any messages for people before we leave?
No messages. Just if we do this again, the question, like it'd be cool to get more, more in depth, more specific questions and such. Maybe we can turn this into more of a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, we could do, if you guys want to see specific topics, like if we spend a whole episode focusing on backpack fitting, or I don't know, something exciting that a lot of people want to hear about, we can do a whole episode on that and really focus it to get that info out there to anyone that wants to thru hike.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. More in the future. Bye.
Take care.
Now we're just gonna, you should just sit there awkwardly for about 20 minutes. We'll just stream that.
Okay. Staring at the camera.